Hi, my name is Derek Winkworth. I'm at CloudToad on Twitter and I work at Apstra. When I make a mistake in the network, it kind of feels like time travel. Like I make a mistake in the past so that I can travel forward into the future and punch myself in the face. And that's what this whole series of videos is all about, how network engineers are their own worst enemy. And maybe they don't have to be. One of the problems we have in networking is exceptions are always the rule. In any given network, that broader network is broken into smaller networks, like one or more WANs, campus networks, Wi-Fi networks, data center networks, all the little pieces that make up the broader network. And when we build out the network, we're really adding those sections to the network. And invariably, over time, little variations occur every single time we add a little piece of the network. And those variations are things like how that little piece of the network actually forwards packets or frames, like the routing and the switching setup in that little piece of the network. And also how redundancy works inside of that little network. What happens when this link fails or that fails? And there's multiple ways to solve the problem of redundancy. Also isolation. How do we isolate that network and make sure it only talks to the things it has to talk to? And then the last thing is how that network actually connects back to the broader network. That invariably, those variations occur as we're building out the smaller pieces of the network and connecting them to the broader network. What's funny is that we have an insane way of dealing with this problem that is completely ineffective at dealing with the problem. We come up with standards in order to control the variation that occurs, and every single time that we add a piece of the network that varies, that's different in some way, we kick and we scream and we're like, well, this isn't following our standard. Every single time we add a piece to the network that's different, we're like, well, this is an exception. And over time, our network becomes a collection of exceptions to some magical standard that no one really ever follows. When you combine this way of thinking with the fact that we inconsistently create and store documentation, this really makes building and managing networks extremely frustrating. Because the network designer is an extremely busy person, they almost never make all the documentation they need to make. When you have these variations and it's not well documented, the operations team is told, well, just call so-and-so, the person who designed the network, if there's a problem. And that's on top of the fact that the network designer is already too busy to make the documentation in the first place. Every time there's a variation, they end up, I guess, disinclined to actually make the documentation because they know people are just going to call them anyway. We have to find a way to break this cycle. And that means this, we have to think rationally about this and accept that there's going to be variations in the network. We have to stop thinking about variations in the network as exceptions and just accept that our network is going to grow and change over time.